you could tell based on my shirt that was an intense game between the Browns and the Steelers this past Thursday, and that was just amazing. But I'm not here to talk about my football team. I am here for my next Oscar nomination predictions for the month of November. And I want to obviously do this before Thanksgiving has occurred, which is obviously one of the best times of the year, because if you've actually subscribed to my channel, you might know where if you have seen throughout my content. If you're not, please make sure you subscribe, because I've got, of course, obviously what's going on right now is my mini podcast series, Macy's Parade in Pop Culture, and this Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, will be the release of the final episode of the entire series, where I will be doing my review on the 1947 classic Miracle on 34th Street. That plug-in aside, it is time to do a little bit of an updated status when it comes to my Oscar nomination predictions and what has been going on throughout the rest of the month of November, throughout the entire, movie season specifically. So let's talk about something that I had mentioned in the last prediction video, that it looks like it is not going to be happening. Now, as many of you don't know, I was having this potential wild card prediction that the wild card movie for the month of November that would do so well would be Clint Eastwood's final movie, Juror Number 2, which has gotten some praise, but apparently Warner Brothers is not giving a shit about the film, because all they care about is Dune Part 2 and one other movie. So much so that they took the movie out of the theaters a little bit earlier than usual, which is going to be unfortunate, especially since it is his final film he's ever going to make. There might be some critics associations and maybe a possibility of maybe one award show that might recognize the film. It's just that Warner Brothers is obviously going big for two other things. It's just like, oh, this thing doesn't exist, even though it's directed by a 4-time Oscar winner that has 2 of his films that have Best Picture winning titles with Unforgiven and $1 Million Baby. Especially that latter movie is now 20 years old by all means. Obviously, that movie is not going to be a big, massive Oscar player, but some people have considered it to probably be a hidden gem for 2024. But now, of course, this past weekend has occurred, and obviously there are 2 movies that have been released and we had to wait and see. One of them is going to be a massive thing, but I will say maybe not the other one, but both of them are definitely going to be Oscar-nominated movies. Obviously, we're talking about the big, infamous film. So let's start up with one of the films, and that is Gladiator 2. Now, Gladiator 2, everybody was just still hesitant about it because some people thought it was unnecessary, and especially after Ridley Scott's last films, whether it be a massive box office bomb or just not really critically well praised, it's just like people don't even trust Ridley Scott as they used to, because obviously he has a lot of ups and downs throughout his entire filmography, of course. Well, now the reviews had come in, and it's better reviews than a lot of people thought it was going to be. And it got a lot of okay receptions and some positivity, but not like acclaim levels like the original film is. But it doesn't mean it is going to be out of the Oscars conversation in general. Definitely would do well in the technical categories and one particular acting category. As for Best Picture, it is definitely on the outskirts, but I don't feel like it's going to happen. But I do have something that I feel like what might happen with Gladiator 2, and I'm actually going to have this movie a bit of comparison. I think Gladiator 2 is going to be like what Black Panther Wakanda Forever did. Obviously, they're both sequels. Well, although one of the differences, one of them is a Best Picture winning film and the other one is not. But they have at least gotten a bunch of technical nominations in the conversation, at least one actor in the conversation, of course. And I would say this. I think Gladiator 2 will be like Wakanda Forever, where we'll just get one acting nomination and a bunch of text, but doesn't make it in for Best Picture. And it might be like the 11th or 12th spot. And I can actually still seeing it getting a Producer's Guild nomination like what Wakanda Forever has done. So I have Gladiator 2 at the moment being this year's Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And then, of course, there is Wicked. And I can't believe that I'm saying this, even though I have not watched the film. Wicked is actually now a thing. Yep, the reviews have came out, and it's probably going to be labeled one of the most surprising films of the year. Even though it's technically Wicked Part 1, but we kind of know that scenario because it's kind of copying what Dune has done. We're just not saying Dune Part 1 and just saying Dune, and then we have Dune Part 2, and now it's just going to be Wicked, and then Wicked Part 2, which at the moment I believe is coming out next year. Now, I am recording this at least in their opening weekend, so I'm not sure how the box office results for both of those films are, but Wicked is definitely going to be in the massive conversation in the top tier 8 categories, including Best Picture, and in the technical categories, it is definitely going to be an awards player. And obviously, since I'm recording this the weekend before Thanksgiving, obviously on the Wednesday before, the same day when I released my Miracle on 34th Street review, Moana 2, Queer, and Maria would be released. And then we got the final films coming out in December, which includes Night Bitch, like 6888, which is definitely going to be an Oscar-nominated movie. A Tyler Perry movie is going to be because there's a song written by Diane Warren. Paul Schrader's A Fish Okera will finally have its release, but it's not in the conversation as much. We have the infamous Craven the Hunter film, and then probably maybe the wild card for the month of December, The Lord of the Rings, The War of Warhem, the anime Lord of the Rings movie. September 5th will finally be coming out. Nickel Boys, which I will still state I don't have Nickel Boys as much in my predictions at the moment because I still want to see how the general public feels about the film. Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Mufasa the Lion King, and then The Brutalist will finally come out, as well as Baby Girl, A Complete Unknown, and of course, Nosferatu. So, a lot of the big major movies, especially A Complete Unknown and Nosferatu, are definitely on the upskirts. Now, I heard they have gotten some early reactions, but like with Gladiator 2 and Wicked last month, I'm not going to jump into massive conclusions when it comes to early reactions, because you just can't trust that. While those films are going to be released, the first set of nominations for other award shows will be happening on exactly next week. On December 4th will be the Film Independent Spirit Award nominations, and then on December 9th, I believe that's on a Monday, yes, Monday, December 9th, the Golden Globe nominations will be announced. And although the television nominations for this show will be announced on December 5th, the film nominations for the Critics' Choice Awards will be announced on December 12th. And then on Tuesday, December 17th, will be the release of the Oscar shortlist, where we'll be getting our glances of what made the shortlist through documentary and international feature. I think sometime around the early month of December, not also we'll get the long list for documentary, but also the official submission/shortlist for Best Animated Feature. I don't know when that date is going to be due. Oh, speaking of which, Wallace and Gromit's Vengeance Most Foul is supposed to have a limited theatrical run throughout the month of December before it goes on Netflix in the beginning of next year. And then, obviously, not just those three, but also the short films. We'll finally get our first glance and do some research on what they are going to be. And then the visual effects, there are obviously 2 rounds. The first round with the first round of 20, and then the second round with the 10 that will be released on the main shortlist on December 17th. We'll probably get to see what the first 20 candidates will be when we'll see that sometime in the beginning of next month, I would say. Obviously for sound, original score, and original song. So expect the Journey from the 6888, the Diane Warren song, to be on that shortlist. And makeup and hairstyling. So I have not done early predictions yet in the technical categories. Obviously, I'm only still going to be covering the Big 8 for this month and next month as well. That will all come into the final nomination predictions. So if you want to see where I'm status right now predicting the technical categories, which at the moment I'm only predicting production design, costume design, cinematography, and film editing, you can follow me on the awards expert app at Bry Crowell. So with all those explanations done, it is now time to go into the Big 8. For adapted screenplay, I have Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, The Room Next Door, and Sing Sing. So after a little bit hesitation for the past 3 months, I have finally put Emilia Perez in here for screenplay, but not by much in a high level. As you can see, I put it just below number 5. I took I'm Still Here out. Because the real reason I just put Emilia Perez in here, if you're a top 5 big Best Picture candidate, the Academy is going to try to love you that much that they're going to try to nominate you everywhere, as we've been seeing a lot. It is definitely going to be happening with one particular film I know for a fact, that, and a couple of others. But Emilia Perez, I feel like it's definitely going to be one the Academy is going to try to nominate everywhere. And I feel like getting in Screenplay would kind of make sense. It's kind of like when 1917 got in for original screenplay just because they love the film that much. That's what I feel like with Emilia Perez here. I know I'm Still Here would definitely be a good candidate still to get in, but I feel like BAFTA would do it. We still have to wait and see if a complete unknown will come in, depending on how much of the writing aspect is for this music biopic, to be precise. The Wild Robot and Hitman would be more like critics' favorites. I could see The Wild Robot making it a critics' choice, but I just don't know if it would make it. I am still holding on with The Room Next Door. I feel like that's going to be more of a bigger industry thing. Like, if it misses like at the Golden Globes or Critics' Choice, I'm still going to keep it in because I feel like the BAFTAs are definitely going to probably show strong support with The Room Next Door. And yeah, I know Conclave makes a lot of sense to do it, but at the moment, I am still doing the Sing Sing Coda route. Because if A24 is going to try to get much attention to Sing Sing, I believe they are going to try to re-release. If I'm correct, they would do the same thing with Coda and try to show more this Sing Sing to the public throughout next month to try to get some attention, especially for SAG voters. For original screenplay, I have your winner, Anora, along with The Brutalist, Challengers, A Real Pain, and The Substance. I was a little bit like a month late or maybe 2 months late, but I have kind of jumped in a bit in the Substance train a bit. Not by much, but I have put in a little bit more of the contention for the movie. It's like, yeah, it is kind of difficult for a horror movie to get really high in the top 8 categories because The Substance at the moment is definitely probably a front runner in the makeup and hairstyling category, and obviously with Demi Moore's in contention for Best Actress for a nomination. I just had to put it in here, and also, it's right now, I would say, our top female-directed pick at the moment, candidate in the entire award season. I have taken Baby Girl out after 2 months. It could still get in if Nicole Kidman can't get in for Best Actress or Harris Dickinson for Supporting Actor. I feel like that could be the best place for Baby Girl at the moment. Hard Truths, it's definitely going to be a BAFTA thing. Saturday Night, definitely a Critics' Choice thing. Maybe Dee Dee also for Critics' Choice. And then September 5th, we'll just have to see what the general public feels about the film itself. It's just that, although, you have, films like The Brutalist and A Real Pain, and I'm still thinking Challengers will still be safe here in this category. I think if there is one place Challengers would make in the top 8, it would definitely be here. But this is basically Anora's category to lose. I think out of all the big 8 categories, I think this is the one to think that it's basically kind of over. It's just not just now with the general public now with the movie had been out, but obviously not just winning the Palm, but also, of course, with it getting third place at TIFF. It's just everyone loves the film, and it's just yeah, it makes sense. So this is basically the Oscar to lose for this. So out of all the top 8, this is the one I think we're all confident in that there's, even though there might be competition for a nomination battle, but this is Sean Baker's Oscar to lose in this category. For Supporting Actress, I have Danielle Detweiler in The Piano Lesson, Selena Gomez and Emilia Perez, Ariana Grande in her lead performance in Wicked, Felicity Jones in The Brutalist, and Zoe Saldana in her lead performance in Emilia Perez. So, not also we got 2 category frauds in this category, but also 3 in general if you also count Supporting Actor. So, yeah, Warner Brothers have campaigned Ariana Grande for supporting and Cynthia Erivo in leading, which, little heads up, I don't have Erivo in, and I'll explain that a little bit, but it is interesting that the reason why I think it makes sense for Grande to come in here is because the competition for the supporting actress race is not as strong as it is because, yeah, Saoirse Ronan and Blitz, and I can see Ingenue Ellis Taylor. If there is one place I have at least something for Nicole Blaze, at least in the contention of the top 8, it would definitely be for her. It's just, I could see her getting nominated places, but I could almost see her being, the one nomination in the top 8 for the film. Although, at the moment, I am actually predicting Nicole Boyce for cinematography. I will state that. It's just, I think I'm confident in that category, but for like in the top tier, I just don't feel it anywhere else. And like, we don't know about like A Complete Unknown. Is there a stand-up performance? It's just like, if you take Joan Chen, Monica Barbio, and Margaret Qualley out, you just have the seven. And it's just like, it makes sense to put Bronte in here. And so, yeah, you have a former Disney Channel and a former Nickelodeon star both getting in for the acting categories by all means. Now, here's the thing. I can see Grande actually doing something here because I am going to be doing a prediction of the Golden Globes, and heads up, I have her going in for leading, and I'll probably explain that a little bit more in the Globes predictions video, because if you know the Globes acting history on category placements, you might know where I'm going with that. So, I just want to give the heads up. But I also, at the moment, don't have her for SAG. I can actually see some SAG voters that don't even think that, well, then again, they did nominate Jennifer Hudson in Respect. So it's just like, yeah, she was an actress before, of course, but it's like this is her first big major acting comeback in quite some time because she was only notable in the television. Don't look up. That kind of doesn't count. But yeah, I can see her like missing SAG for some voters because I might have a feeling there might be some voters that might go with somebody else like Ingenue Ellis or stuff like that. Selena Gomez, I feel like, would still make it at SAG. I could see both of them missing at BAFTA though, because I feel like the only, like, Felicity Jones, I'm obviously confident she's going to get in. I actually have her at front right now for BAFTA. Saldana, obviously, probably the one to lose at this moment, even though it's a supposed lead performance. But I just feel like since Emilia Perez is a stronger candidate, same thing with The Brutalist, more so than Wicked, I would say, at this time being, I just feel more confident in where I'm at the moment. I just feel like, well, I think the one I did took out was Ronan for Blitz, because I still have her up for actress, though, so I am a bit worried about Deadweiler because if The Piano Lesson's is going to be the film's only nomination throughout the season, that's kind of not a good sign, because if you're the only nomination, let alone for a Netflix film, if you're a Netflix film that has only been nominated, that your film is only nominated for supporting throughout the entire season, that's not good. Unless if The Piano Lesson does get a SAG Ensemble nomination, which I do have it at the moment predicting it, I know that the film will be officially out, or unless if it is officially legit released on Netflix, I'm not really sure. I haven't checked the status, but I know it's supposed to be out on Netflix sometime around this time period. Well, around when I'm recording this. So I feel like that if there is a lot of support from SAG, I feel like she can still be safe. Supporting actor, I have Yura Borisov in Honora, Kieran Culkin in his lead performance in A Real Pain, Clarence Macklin in Sing Sing, Guy Pearce in The Brutalist, and Denzel Washington in Gladiator 2. So Gladiator 2's reactions, and a lot of people love Denzel's performance, so that was not a bad bet to keep it in being the only top tier candidate for Gladiator 2, and I think that will be the status for Denzel. So since I have Gladiator 2 as this year's Black Panther Wakanda Forever, getting in for an acting nomination in just the text, I would simply do it for the film, and Denzel would be the option. Kieran Culkin now really is in potential in the conversations for the win. So basically, 2 lead performances would win in the supporting categories. But as I still have Sing Sing as the coda thing, I really still think Clarence Macklin can still do it. Because another thing is, like with Ariana Grande, I'm actually right now predicting Kieran Culkin to go leading at the Golden Globes. As I will probably talk more about that in that prediction video next week before the Globe nominations, like not Thanksgiving weekend, but like the following weekend. Well, the first full weekend of December, to be precise. So yeah, that's when I have the status on. With Yoris Borisov, he, as I kind of had mentioned a little bit in the last predictions, I originally had Mark, the main supposed male that Mikey Madison goes after throughout the movie. And it would make sense, especially since he's most in the poster. But when Neon did their FYC ads, Yora was top credit for supporting actor. And now after thinking about it, it makes sense to put him in here because, like I mentioned with Emilia Perez, and I kind of did state about this with my prediction at Honora back in October, if Honora is going to be beloved by every member of the Academy, they're going to try to nominate him almost for anything they can. and yours would definitely get in for supporting actor. It's just like they're going to try to go all in on it, and I feel like yours, Borisov, would definitely do it to show the love that Honora has as a strong Best Picture candidate. So I did took out Stanley Tucci for Conclave, which is still a possibility. I'm still waiting on any reactions or words about Edward Norton's performance in A Complete Unknown. Harris Dickinson, I am still running him for Baby Girl instead of Blitz. Maybe Willem Dafoe has something in Nosferatu, depending on how the general public feels. As for Germany Strong, in The Apprentice, I will talk a little bit about that when we get to Best Actor. For Best Actress, I have Carlos Sevilla Gascon and Emilia Perez, Angelina Jolie and Maria, Mikey Madison and Honora, Demi Moore in The Substance, or Demi Moore, I think it's Demi Moore, I believe. And I'm still saying Saoirse Ronan is going to do the career win for her performance in The Outrun. I know many people would be eyeing me out on putting her in number one, but I just feel like if Sony Pictures Classics has a big season this year with not just with The Room Next Door, but also with The Outrun and Kneecap, it really kind of makes sense, especially for I kind of a little bit talked about in the last video about if Mikey Madison and Carlos Sevilla Gascon is like Lily Gladstone, and that they're not much bigger in the industry compared to somebody like Ronan, who is obviously on the due stats for an Oscar, of course. And since I don't have her going in for Blitz, it still makes sense to put her in number one. But I finally added Demi Moore in here after 2 months. It took me a while to put Demi Moore in this lineup. Now, I could still see her missing a couple of places, because when you look, you have Marianne Jean-Baptiste in Chartreuse, Nicole Kidman in Baby Girl, and I think somebody did brought out that it makes sense to predict Kidman to go nominated for SAG for Baby Girl because she got in for Bombshell at the Screen Actors Guild, so Kidman making in for SAG would be a lot of things. As I mentioned about with Ariana Grande, I did not put Cynthia Erivo in here at the moment because I feel like if they're going to nominate her for her role as Elphaba, it might be in the second part. I'm not sure if her performance is bigger in part 2 than it is in part 1. I haven't seen Wicked yet because I'm recording this on the day when the movie just came out. Let me know in the comments if you have seen Wicked. Does Erivo have more of a bigger chance for next year for Wicked Part 2 if she has more of a bigger role? Unless if it's I don't know if the first part 1 is the first act and part 2 is the second act. I don't know at the moment. So it's just more of a wait and see scenario. Now, she is a previous nominee, so that is the good status. It's just the competition is a little bit insane still, I will admit. For Best Actor, I have Adrien Brody in The Brutalist, Timothée Chalamet in Complete Unknown, Daniel Craig in Queer, Coleman Domingo in Sing Sing, and Ray Fiennes in Conclave. So there is obviously the one candidate that I took out because of what just happened. Maybe Glenn Powell could try to do something in here. The major difference is that obviously with The Apprentice is that it is a drama film. If it was a comedy, then I think it probably would have gotten in because the Emmys have obviously done it with Saturday Night Live. But so if they're going to nominate Sebastian Stan in any place, it would be a different man. But it's not because of why he's going to miss, but there is something I want to talk about that I think that might actually be a prediction of what might happen at the ceremony itself. So, if you want to skip what I want to talk about a prediction about the show specifically, I recommend you just go to the next timestamp for the Best Director category that will either be shown right now in this video or in the description below. So, if you want to avoid that, just go to the Best Director category, as I will kind of make an assumption prediction about the show itself. Alright, so before I begin with this, I just want to mention that I am not endorsed by Donald Trump or endorsed by Kamala Harris. I just don't give a shit about politics in our country. It's just like, all of them are just morons, to be precise. And I just like, throughout this first half of the decade, it just got me massively stressful. I mean, it's just something I don't like to go on through my channel, especially since I really don't like to talk about politics, because I just feel like it just kind of divides your audience here. But this is more of a prediction of what I feel like might going to happen to the show specifically. As many of you know, Donald Trump won his second term as office in our past presidential election. I'll just say this right now, I did a write-in vote. And it is still a possibility. Now, I will state this. I still do think Sebastian Stan still could get in for Best Actor for The Apprentice, especially since the movie has gotten some praise and even has a bit better praise, I would say, than Queer, to be precise. And I think he would make it to some places, like the Golden Globes. I do think it would definitely have its best performance, without a doubt, at the BAFTAs. But after when Trump was elected, that's when I feel like I kind of have a feeling the ceremony is going to do what they did, like they did back in the 2017 ceremony, especially the actors. Now, like I said, I'm not calling out any actors here, but this is just more of like a prediction of what is going to happen. So obviously, in the 2017 ceremony, as many of you know, not also that was the same ceremony of the infamous Best Picture incident, but that was the year when ceremony specifically when many of the presenters and recipients called out President Donald Trump and all the things he wanted to do. And obviously, that is going to repeat, I think, again for its second round. And then after that, then you have radical right-wing activists like Ben Shapiro trashing the ceremony to a piss. It is just like, yeah, YouTube needs to really still need to take seriously on hate speech. I don't understand that. Because as many of you know, a lot of actors are definitely going to be in the liberal side. And then you have the radical right-wing conservatives trying to call them out for what they would probably say they are being stupid, to be precise. I really don't know what's going to happen here. But obviously, what has been going on and what Trump's plan is for Project 2025, especially with the potential national worldwide abortion ban, the massive big deportation and stuff like that, and like all the things President Trump wants to do. Now, obviously, I just can't stand politics, obviously, but I just feel like what is going to happen at that ceremony is definitely going to be a big, massive deal. And I can see it would probably, I can see the show going down ratings, and I can see probably a lot of right-wing activists are going to try to tell you not to watch the ceremony, because I feel like they're going to start doing the political messages throughout the entire award seasons, from the Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, Screen Actors Guild especially, the BAFTAs, maybe Film and Spirit Awards, but the Oscars specifically. And obviously, the ratings have not been positively, they have all been in the downskirts ever since Donald Trump became in office, because it's obviously almost like Hollywood versus right-wing activists, and it's just like something that it just keeps bugging me that I can't believe they're just fighting for. I just don't understand. I'm only 24, obviously. It's just like, I'm just sick and tired of it. It's just like, it's ridiculous that it's still a problem that we don't have a peaceful country as we used to. I mean, I'm just not going to go much on about what I think is going to happen. All I'm just making a predicting status is that with Trump now reelected, you can guarantee a lot of actors in the actors branch, especially in the liberal side, although they are most likely friends with Sebastian Stan and might like the performance, but they might not nominate it just because they want to teach, specifically say a message to the soon-to-be returning president of the United States. And especially since you have a lot of notable films talking a lot about some issues in something that could really be affected, especially like with, in the Best Actress category, you have a trans woman in the contention for the Best Actress category, especially since transgender is a massive subject in Emilia Perez. You have like a massive somewhat inmates racial thing, I think, and Sing Sing, I'm not really sure about that. Some sort of big, like, World War II status with the Brutalist. Like, there is definitely going to be a lot. And as somebody who just mainly wants to escape that all away, you know the Oscars are definitely going to be going political when it comes to the 2025 ceremony. And Conan O'Brien's definitely going to probably, who is, by the way, our host, definitely is going to probably bring in all the Trump jokes, like what Jimmy Kimmel did at the very end of the last ceremony. So, like I said, I am not a Trump supporter. I'm not a Kamala supporter. Somebody who's an independent who just doesn't give a fuck about politics. Just be aware that the ceremony is definitely going to be going political, and you will not see The Apprentice become an Oscar-nominated film because of this election. With that out of the way, for Best Director, I have Sean Baker for Anora, Brady Corbett for The Brutalist, Edward Berger for Conclave, Jacques Audiard for Emilia Perez, and Pedro Almodovar for The Room Next Door. I have not changed it. I am still confident with Almodovar still getting in here, because I feel like he could be like, one candidate, like, not like the Ruben Östlund thing, but I feel like, as I mentioned, I feel like the guilds, and especially the BAFTAs, are definitely going to really probably take to The Room Next Door. And I still think the Venice thing is still why I'm kind of going with it, even though I know, unlike TIFF, and even sometimes Cannes, sometimes festivals don't have a massive consistency when it comes to the Oscars. But unless if you're a neon film that wins at Cannes, sometimes Venice films just, like, if you're a Venice film winner that gets a Best Picture nomination, you get in for director. So that's the same thing with Cannes. So not TIFF though, but I feel like we still do not have a clear frontrunner. I just still have Brady Corbett just because of, like, the 3-hour status of how the setting of the movie is supposed to be. But then again, Netflix really could do well here. Baker, I feel more confident in taking original screenplay, but then again, he could really be in the status for to win here. So now with Wicked now becoming an Oscar thing, John M. Chu definitely is now going to be in the conversation. But I feel like since the director's branch has been more global, especially for the Academy, in recent years, they're not going to go with the big Hollywood big movies like Wicked or Dune Part 2 specifically. Even I would say A Complete Unknown. Because they would go with more of the typical ones and even some of the more international candidates. And then we have Querelle Forget for The Substance. Now, we had a massive unassure if there was going to be a top female candidate in the awards conversation, of course, because Night Bitch definitely would have been it, but the reviews are not as strong as it is, so Maria Heller would not be in the conversation. But The Substance has been getting a lot of love in recent years, not years, I mean, for the past 2 months or so, even across internationally. It is the potential makeup frontrunner. I do have it in for the script and for Demi Moore, and obviously for the big one. But I just feel like, unlike some films, unlike some of the other ones I have for director, many people might not know who Querelle Forget is. Like, then again, Justine Triet was the same thing, even though she had made a lot of French films, but, like, a lot of North Americans did not know who Triet was. Especially since you can even say the same thing with The Brutalist, but then I think there might be some people might have heard of Fox Slugs. So, that's the thing. Now, obviously, there is the potentiality we could see the return of the hashtag So Male controversy, and the news media will be, especially the ones like on Good Morning America or CBS This Morning or The Today Show, will be bitching and complaining that there's no woman in this category, when that's not even a rule, obviously, even though the BAFTAs do, with the one-woman rule, I believe. Unless if I'm mistaken, because I think they did a little bit of more of a changement in the voting system, I forget, but that's the thing. It's just that I could see her making some places. Same thing with John M. Chu. I think John M. Chu will make it at DGA, and I had Denis Villeneuve getting it everywhere else except for BAFTA and here at the Oscars, so... because it really makes sense to put Villeneuve at number 1, but I feel like he might win for the third Dune he is making. So that's the reason why I just don't have him in here in general. Because I feel like 7 of the candidates are probably more stronger than him. For Best Picture, I have Anora, The Brutalist, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, A Real Pain, The Room Next Door, Sing Sing, The Substance, and Wicked. Yep, The Substance and Wicked are the two new ones added. I took out A Complete Unknown and Challengers off the list. Now with Wicked being a legit Best Picture thing, it makes sense. I have The Substance still kind of in the low status here because it is that horror bias the Academy might have is the reason why it's not going to be much in the main conversation. Because I know some people might be confused with The Room Next Door, but I already have talked about this twice already for Screenplay and Director. So I am confident now in the 9. It's just the 10th slot is the massive question mark. Is it going to be The Substance? Is it going to be A Complete Unknown? Is it going to be Challengers? Or maybe if the Tex and Denzel would do it, maybe Gladiator 2. I still think it would make it at PGA, but not at the Oscars specifically. And with that, that wraps up my Oscar nomination predictions for the month of November. Sometime, not on Thanksgiving week again, but the following weekend after Thanksgiving, the first full weekend of December, I will be doing my predictions for the Golden Globe nominations. Yep, that will be the first time I'll be doing that ad for this channel. So make sure you subscribe, follow me on the Awards Expert app, and the best time of the year is just around the corner.